Hey everybody, this is Jay Tahoe here. Haven't been making videos in a while because I've just been pretty busy. But went on a couple of things. Supposedly, I am going to be having a conversation slash debate with First soon in regard to the Russo-Ukrainian war. First, I have actually reviewed some of that content you sent me. I'm about halfway through the one video. Again, just finding the time to review the content. As I've said, in 2022, probably the hardest part of life right now is evaluating what's bullshit and what isn't. Yeah, it is honestly like because every side is just trying to spin things, um, in a manner that they want you to see it in, and that's like it's sometimes I'm like the ultimate solipsist right now. Um, just trying to evaluate like what's actually real and what isn't. It's just like a mind blowing task because like it's like in this age where everything is on camera, you'd think it would actually be easier to evaluate truth from untruth, but now it's more so about because everything's on video. Now it's more so about the context of that video. But that's we're probably going to do that pretty soon. I know we were talking about possibly this weekend or early next week, but again, like it all depends on I got a lot going on right now. Anyway, today I wanted to talk about the YouTuber 28 Days of May. So I came across your channel when I was actually looking into this Russo-Ukrainian war, which actually led me to checking out some of your other content. And I will say that while I disagree with you on, well, a lot of things, it's very well argued. Okay. And that's so she doesn't have a lot of subscribers yet, or views really, but actually some decent arguments that it hasn't swayed me on much, and I'll elaborate that in a second. But it is well argued. I will say that. Um, basically 28 Days of May is, in a nutshell, I would say that she's advocating for a, completely communist society and total equality of resource distribution and whatnot. And talks about her opinion on that and stuff, and that's all good and well. I will say that like it's one of those things where I think when I was younger I was sold on that dream too. Okay, like communism just sounds great on paper, and I get it. To me, like there's no such thing as a perfect society. Okay, it's like a person who is a perfect 10 in attractiveness. It's a concept. It doesn't actually exist. I don't know what that would look like. However, my thing with communism is that I think what you'd said in your video 28 Days of May, correct me if I'm wrong, is that the Soviet Union was good and the United States went ahead and ruined that. Now, I would argue that the Soviet Union actually brought about some of the greatest human suffering in history, and that it was terrible. And again, of course, that's what we've been fed here, in America. But I do have some family, of Russian descent who would say that it was a terrible time. So, but again, I'm not going to go too much into that. But yeah, a lot of people seem to agree that there was some pretty bad human suffering, like under Stalin. People starving, right? And like the statistics in the 80s, like one in seven families had an automobile. Um, the amount of time that it took to get goods and services was considerably higher. And again, right, it's because human nature inherently, people are going to try to step on other people to get ahead, which is why a communist society would. Capitalism is far from perfect. Okay, it's like it's not one of those things where you have to be, one or the. Capitalism is far from perfect, but in my opinion, it is the lesser of two evils. And here's the thing: is that people. I really do think that when it comes to this, there's two kinds of people. Maybe we should have a country that has an area where you can go live on a commune if that's more your speed, but you also have the option to opt out and live in a capitalistic society. Because me personally, I would not want to live in a communistic society because you cannot get ahead. I'm a competitive person. Human beings, there are human beings who are just very competitive. And the problem is when you have those people with people who are not competitive and just want to, like be lax and have the same as everyone else, right? Now the competitive people are going to try to step on people to get ahead. I'm not saying that I would, that's in my nature, but there are people. There's varying degrees of competitiveness, right? 28 Days of May talks about in some of her videos that the ways that men are, right? That men are, at least that's how I'm interpreting it anyway. That you're saying that men are inherently violent and we like to do things that make us feel powerful and whatever. And like, I'm sure like some of that, is a product of evolutionary biology, right? I mean, in the Stone Age and everything, right? It was men who were going out and hunting and killing and fending off other tribes and whatnot, right? So there's a little bit of that kind of, just in our psychology from as a product of evolutionary biology, right? It's not as prevalent, obviously, because it's not needed in this modern day, and that's we kind of over time we repress and repress that more, and now it's kind of we kind of live in a society that favors intellect is more selected for by the environment than brute force, but that element is still there, okay? And it's almost like, but the way I take it is that you sort of want me to just apologize for what I was born as, right? I'm not saying that like I have violent tendencies or anything, all right, but I have been in a couple of fights, and win or lose, like there was a level of adrenaline and excitement that happened, and I think that just kind of exists because that's what we had to do in the past. I think that you should obviously you don't want to really hurt anyone, you want to repress that, but there is something in me that causes me to want to be competitive. You know what I mean? Like, you guys know I don't like MGTOW Dictionary very much, right? I would have actually enjoyed being in prison with him in 2008 because I would have beaten his ass and taken his lunch every day. I don't think I could kill another human being. I think empathy. I have a good amount of empathy, but there are certain every okay. I think you're bullshitting yourself. Every single person, you are bullshitting yourself if you would say that you don't have some, no matter how small, right, sadistic tendencies. No person is really truly all good. At least that's how I look at it, right? Everybody, at some point, no matter how small, you've done something that probably harmed another person, and you took some type of pleasure from that. Okay, like it's not a good thing, but we can be cognizant of it, and we can keep it under control, because I think we do all have an id, an ego, and a super ego, and sometimes that id, if when it go now the problem is when it goes unchecked, right? You have people doing really terrible things to other people, but we all have it on some level, and I think we have this urge to be competitive sometimes. Me, I look at it as I want to win. I don't want it to come at the cost of somebody else, but sometimes that is inevitable, I guess. But my thing is like, like I said, a fully all communist society where everybody just gets the same and everybody's equal eventually will not work, because somebody is going to get tired of pulling the slack for everybody else, and you're not going to have innovation. You're going to have brain drain. We've seen this happen before, where basically people who would profit off of a great idea or an invention just go somewhere else where they can profit, because there's no incentive for them to really go above and beyond, because they're just going to be treated the same as everybody else, right? If you got paid the same as it, why be a doctor when you're going to have the same quality of life as the person flipping burgers? Why are you really going to take upon yourself? Some people will. Some people are inherently altruistic like that, and they're willing to work hard for other people. And those good for those people. I'm happy that those people exist. It's commendable, but the majority just aren't, right? That's just not going to happen. So what you're going to have is you're ultimately going to have a lower quality of life. Because the workers are going to own the means to production, which, hey, it sounds great and everything, but how do you inspect the quality of that production? Because when you have a capitalistic society, you do have competition, and competition can be a good thing. That can actually be better for the consumer. You can end up with a higher quality product, a higher quality of production. And these are drawbacks to communism, right? That are, again, like so, and again, capitalism has a lot of losers too. Capitalism can be unfair in that people who aren't born into the right situation don't really have a chance. Not everybody can pull themselves up from their bootstraps. Let's say they're born and they don't even have a bootstrap, right? Like you're just born into some crushing poverty situation, and you're born into a family that has nothing, and some people can escape from it, but that's not going to be the majority. Okay, that's just a fact too. So you're going to have a lot of losers in capitalism too. But by the way I look at it is you also have more to go up. So 28 days of May to get a society where you have, everybody is the same, right? That means you have to squash that inherent human desire to have more, to get ahead. And my question to you is, how do you do that if that is human nature? Okay, that's never mind like the black pill on looks and everything. That to me is something we kind of have to be a little black pilled on, right? And I hate pill analogies. I think that pills are for the ill. It's just based on the matrix, and we read too much into that sometimes. But in all seriousness, how do you get human nature to not be human nature? Somebody is always going to try to get ahead. Somebody's always going to try to exploit someone else. So again, like, while capitalism is not perfect, it usually ends up with a higher quality of life for more people versus communism, which seems to have a lower quality of life for the most people, even though some people do benefit. Because, like we said, right, they now get a chance to participate in society, where if they were born into capitalism and they were born into a really bad situation, can't escape from. But from what I've seen, pretty much like every time you look at history, you don't have a communist society that becomes a superpower, because everybody's going to point to China right now. But I would argue that China is not really a fully communistic society. It's pretty capitalist when you think about it. I mean, they've got McDonald's over there. They've got, not truly, it doesn't really operate like a communist society. They claim it, but it's a lot of things where a lot of people claim things to be something and it's actually something else. So that's well, where am I going with that? I just lost my track of thought. It's not. I wouldn't consider it a truly communistic society, and they have their problems that they're going through now too, right? What is it? I think I'd read that 1 in 3 mortgage holders in China are now defaulting on their mortgage. So that remains to be seen what's gonna happen there. Um, I still do believe that the United States is the dominant superpower in the world today. Um, and again, you guys let me know in the comments if you think I'm wrong. I think a lot of people are upset that we're still a superpower because we have woke culture, and we're things that in the past weren't necessarily deemed acceptable, and we're going in a certain direction as a country, and that's going to make us weak. But I think that's ultimately a cope, and we still are ultimately the number one superpower in the world, and will probably remain as such for probably at least another century. I mean, I just don't see the collapse of the West coming anytime soon. I mean, hey, all if you consider this, if you consider us an empire, right, and we have had some imperialistic tendencies. If you consider us an empire, All empires do come to an end at some point, but I don't think that ours is coming to an end now. I really don't. I really don't. It's something I'd actually probably wager money on. Um, I don't think this way of life is coming to an end anytime soon. Um, but hey, 28 Days of May, we do agree on some things, right? When you said that you should be willing to die for the way of life that you want, I actually agree with you there. But here's the issue: the way of life that you want and the way of I want, the way of life that I want are completely different things, which, in your scenario there, and again, right, this is not encouraging. I don't think either of us is encouraging violence, but we're saying, you should be in a worst case scenario back against the wall. Like a war were to break out, you should be willing to put your life on the line. um, I guess we sort of agree there, but you have to realize that there's going to be people who oppose you who think the same way. So you had said earlier, might doesn't make right, but in that sense, I think you've sort of contradicted yourself there, because you just said, hey, you have to be willing to take up arms, willing to die for what you believe in, right? So I guess there are times where you feel like you have to take something by force, and in that case, I guess might does make right. That's how I interpret that anyway. But you know, anyway, you have pretty interesting content. Hey, the comments are turned off, so I guess you're not up for a debate on some of this stuff. Um, if you were open to it, I would do a live stream and discuss some of this stuff. I don't know if that's something you'd be up for, but yeah. Saw a couple of your videos and thought I'd just make a response. But yeah, let me know in the comments what you think. Everybody, check out the channel. Am I in the right after with my interpretation of what she's saying? You guys let me know, and I will see everybody hopefully soon. I do want to make a new video soon, but like I said, time has been the constraint recently. So take care, everyone, and I will see you soon.